You are tuning in to Pass the Wine with Alina Evans, episode 4. We will talk about faith and perseverance with today's guest, Miss Vivianne Pearson. She is a powerhouse, y'all, so don't miss this one.
Some people walk through this life, not on their feet but on their face, standing on the edge of a night, hoping till goodbye.
I'm excited to sit down and to introduce you to a dear friend of mine, Vivianne Pearson. She does it all. So whether she is strapping up her boots to report to duty or in the best heels a lady can buy, Viv takes pride in serving others through her beauty endeavors, fitness, and community service. Viv lives to serve her family, country, and community. She is a loving mother of 2, a U.S. Army veteran, activist, fitness competitor, serial entrepreneur, and philanthropist. Viv is the founder of Vivi Couture Cosmetics, Couture Me Fit, and VMP Foundation. VMP Foundation provides aid and support to both veterans and civilians who've experienced trauma through education and empowerment workshops. Her foundation assists nonprofit organizations both locally and abroad. Viv embodies 3 core values which are evident in her personal life and business, which are to educate, empower, and give back to the community. Vivi Couture Cosmetics is like a green smoothie for your skin. Its rich, plant-based formula provides the skin with vitality that keeps you looking and feeling radiantly beautiful. Couture Me Fit not only provides fitness accessories, nutritional tips, and motivation. Viv is proud to announce that the brand will be launching their vegan supplement collection in spring of 2021. I really don't know how she does all of this and serves as a divorce mortgage advisor. Viv is a loan officer who specializes in working with divorced clients, guiding and supporting them through the process, making sure they have a place to call home. Viv is the epitome of I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So without further ado, let's get into it. And don't forget to pass the wine, sis.
Crazy because just like you said, even though we don't talk all the time, but when we do, it's almost like we never skipped a beat,
Yeah,
and we can just
exactly.
pick back up. And those are the ones that, and ironically enough, I value a lot because
Mhm.
it almost seems like you understand that
Yes.
life happens and you're not holding it against someone to that expectation, right? If I got to call you every day or I have to,
Yeah.
in order for you to be my friend type deal. And I think we get a lot boggled down by that expectation and
Mhm.
lose sight of the authenticity.
Or
I
I
can't even
can't
say
say it
it.
either. If you
It
listen to
just
my
slipped
last
out.
podcast, I couldn't say it.
Authenticity.
Yes.
Authenticity of a friendship or even a relationship. And I feel like that can go into a whole different segment in and of itself, just
Mhm.
letting go of expectations and just being present and appreciative and have gratitude just to say hello. And
Exactly.
receive that. Yeah.
I treasure those friendships too. I feel like those are my soul sisters. They're the ones that I connect with spiritually. And like you said, you don't miss a beat, but we understand we're busy and we have a lot going on, but it's just so, to me, I feel like I don't skip a beat because I get to see all of that. And it's like I'm rooting on the sidelines, like, oh, go Viv, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you. So I'm just so thankful for you to spend this time with us. So thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with me. I'm
Well,
gonna enjoy
I
our
am honored, honored, and thank you for thinking of me and wanting giving me the opportunity and the platform to talk about my journey, and hopefully it inspires hope and perseverance in someone else.
Absolutely, I know it will. So tell us about yourself. Who's Viv?
Well, I always like to say,
Good
for
question.
me, I am a daughter of a king, the God. I honor and worship that for sure. But I'm a mother to 2 amazing, beautiful kids. They're my heartbeat. And, I feel like I'm an activist. I'm a veteran. I wore several hats. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm someone who I desire to inspire hope and leave a legacy so that my kids could be proud of and want to continue. I think that's who I am. And I'm unapologetically myself, and I try to be just true to myself and honest so that people, when they see me, they see the true me. And I try to, in a sense, unveil because we have a, I used to be the PhD of wearing a mask, right? Going through the pain and, just covering up life obstacles. But I've realized through vulnerability is where I found my strength, and that's who I am today.
That's great. There's so much power in that sentence that you just said. I
Hmm.
I agree, and I feel like when people are transparent, they're present, they are who God intended them to be, you have a deeper connection and you're living in purpose and you're doing what God intends for you to do. When you're wearing a mask, you're doing what you want to do and
Yeah,
what you think people want to see and hear.
yeah,
And yeah, like you said, it's not authentic and genuine. And so that's a powerful sentence that you just said.
yeah.
Um, so tell us where you're from. Where do you come from?
Originally, I'm from Florida, born and
Oh,
raised, yeah, in Miami, Little Haiti. And then my mom moved to Pompano Beach, is where she resides now. And yeah, that's home. Florida is home.
wow. When did you move to Austin?
I moved to Austin in 2008, transitioning out of the military, and we relocated here. And we had job opportunities at the hospital. And from there, we made Texas, I call Florida home because that's where my heart is, my mom and majority of my family. But then we made Texas home.
Okay, wow, 2008. So, you moved to Texas because of the military, is that right? Or you moved
No, we were
after?
transitioning out of the military actually, and we
Okay.
had job opportunities at the hospital at
Mm,
St. David. Yeah.
okay. And what did you do
Yeah.
at the hospital?
Well, I was a PA. And I specialized in orthopedics. I actually worked at the South location with Austin Skeletal.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Mhm.
Okay. And how long did you do that for?
I did that transitioning here, I want to say close to about 2 years. And then I realized, when I would go into the hospital with my daughter and on a Sunday be like, don't touch this or don't touch that. I was like having anxiety. I realized, of course, that wasn't a life for a 2-year old, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted something different. At the time, my ex husband would travel for work. So, of course, my daughter was with me at my hip. And I just realized I wanted to create my own schedule. Not that I couldn't with that position, but it's just so much more work. It requires so much more of you. And during that season of my life, I definitely wanted to be present for her. And so took a sabbatical, if you call it, and just took some time to be a mom because I
Mhm.
kept going and going, transitioning out of military, got here, had a job opportunity, and I knew I just wanted to be present. I wanted to have really good memories with her, and we did just that. And then I got into the beauty industry. I realized that, hey, I can create my own schedule with it. Growing up, that's at least for us, and I say us, like the girls in Miami growing up, hair was our thing. We had
Yeah.
girlfriends over, we would braid, we would talk, and I didn't have sisters growing up, and so
Okay.
having girlfriends around was bonding time, and it was just
Yeah.
fun. It didn't seem like something that I was doing for, and in a sense, for money. It was just like girlfriend time, and so it
Right.
was wonderful. And so I got back into the beauty industry, and I thrived.
You
And it was
are.
awesome. Yeah,
You're a
yeah,
natural. Yeah.
yeah. It was awesome, and had several expansion of the business. You go in from having a suite to, having your own thing, the salon and spa, to creating your own cosmetic line
Yeah.
and just growing from there. So it's been a journey.
So before we go into that, because I know you have a cosmetic line, you have a skincare line,
Mhm.
um, you have so many different ventures. I definitely want to get into that, but before we do, I want the audience to get to know you a little better. You know, who
Okay.
is Viv?
All
So
right.
you're from Florida, you moved to Texas. with your ex-husband, you had a 2-year-old, you joined the medical industry or the healthcare industry.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm going to ask you some random questions just to get a
Go
feel for
for it.
who Viv is. So
Go
what
for
is
it.
the best trip that you've ever taken and why?
I would like to say thus far, Antigua. And the reason
Ooh,
being is I am attracted to the body of water. It speaks to me
me
um,
too.
on a high level. I feel
Hmm.
at peace. I feel closer to God. Um, I just, I'm at peace. There's a sense of serenity that completely like engulfs me. And I just want to say I feel at home when I'm near the body of water. And I remember being there. I've been to several islands, and I remember being there and I'm thinking to myself, this is about far the most beautiful place that I've been in my journeys of, exploring. And I said, this is where I would probably, retire and be okay, making this home. Cause it was surreal to me. Now, if you give me, if you ask me, hey, where would you like to go for scuba diving and all that stuff and snorkeling? I will tell you, Belize by far, when I went snorkeling, that I cried underwater.
Did you?
But I did because it was stunning. God creation
Oh
is
my gosh.
ooh, it was just like you touch the animal, the fishes and everything, and it was just rich in color, beautiful, and breathtaking.
You're
Now,
very hypersensitive. What is your horoscope?
I'm a Virgo.
You're a Virgo? Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm a Pisces, and I don't really believe in horoscopes, but
Mhm.
I'm like you. I'm a water baby, and I love that's when I feel in tuned with my spirit and with God
Mhm.
is in the water. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's
Yes,
so beautiful. I
it
love
is.
scuba diving.
It's yeah.
Have you ever been deep sea um, scuba diving?
I have not. Now I've done the deep sea fishing and all that stuff, but I have not gone in the water that far. And
People
I'm
get
like
scared.
thinking it's on the bucket list.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that because I was just informing my boss that, hey, I'll be gone for 2 weeks in September. I'm not rescheduling that trip. And she's just like, okay.
Oh, is it
Because I
next
was
September?
yeah, this upcoming September, because
Okay.
this past September, of course, COVID, the pandemic hit, it
Hmm.
stifled a lot of traveling for everyone. And I was supposed to be in Bali for
Oh,
my birthday.
wow.
And so I will be in Bali this year, this upcoming year, 2021, God willing, right? Everything is fine and, borders are open. And yeah,
Yeah.
so hopefully I get to experience that.
That's on my bucket list.
Yeah,
Bali, oh, you're gonna love that.
I
It's so
know. I can't
beautiful.
wait. I
I'm
can't wait.
jealous.
Mm-mm.
Are you going by yourself? Or are you going with
I
girlfriend?
am. So for my birthday, I always travel for a week by myself to just center myself and become one and prepare for the next chapter. I do a lot of meditation and a lot of journaling during that period,
Hmm.
and it just lets me regroup, if that makes sense.
It does. I've
Mhm.
always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to take a trip by myself. I feel like it would be so therapeutic. I'm kind of a loner sometimes, anyways. People think I'm extroverted because I'm always on, but I like to recharge by myself and just have some alone time with God.
Yeah.
So that sounds amazing. That's
And
gonna be beautiful.
you should definitely do it. I think
I
the first time
will.
I was scared, but it was something when you were there, like to experience it, like, oh wow, you're not on anyone's agenda. You can focus. You,
Mhm.
like you said, for me, meditation even in the morning now is like so crucial. I know if I miss it, like it just doesn't feel right. My routine is out of whack.
Mhm.
And spending that time just being centered and being with God and just knowing how my day is going to start is, I don't know, it's very powerful. And it guides me, if that makes sense.
Do you meditate every day?
I try to, absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because my kids like, oh, they'll open the door and they're like, oh, yep, let me close it.
They already know it's
Yeah.
meditation time. What time
Yeah.
do you typically meditate? Do you have a set time?
I try to right before either before I go to the gym, my time when I get up around 5 and head out, I'll try to do it right around 5:15, right before, and then start the day.
How
Yeah.
long do you meditate for?
And I was going to say that would vary because I try to stay still for at least 10 minutes just to just get grounded. Um, I know when they say plant, you want to feel planted.
Hmm.
I try to stay still, no noise, for about 10 minutes. And then from there, I go into my daily devotion and then I go into my journaling.
I want to be you when I grow up, Viv.
Yeah. Girl, look, girl.
Oh, girl, I know it's I struggled with meditating and I got into it and I did it for a while and then, I stopped, I had a baby and we moved twice and I just got off the bandwagon, but I would love to start again. So you're inspiring me to start meditating again.
It's hard and they have and you know me, I'm a big person to find like different resources because it was hard for me as well in terms of distraction, right? I call it noise pollution. Anything that would go, my head would be like, oh, or get out of the trance, right? But YouTube has a really amazing resource of sounds
Hmm.
that'll help you to stay centered. And I would definitely recommend those, and I'll send you some links. But and you can even kind of drop it down in the YouTube for some people for resources. But when I listen to those two, it can go from 10 to 20 just because it's so calming and
Hmm.
it'll help you to stay focused.
Great. Do you have any favorites or
I do, and I will definitely provide you with that information. That's like one of my go-tos.
wonderful? How often do you work out each week?
I feel like I eat and breathe that thing. It's actually a source of therapy for me.
Yes.
So whether I'm in the gym or my at home gym, I have to stay active. So on average, 5 to 7 times a week. But I want to say when I do so I suffer with migraines. So if I do get a migraine, definitely want to rest. Don't push yourself, but just be realistic. But on average, 5 times a week.
Wow. Okay. How do you have a set regimen every week, or does it differ depending on the week?
I do. Right now, I'm really focused on my lower body.
Hmm.
My upper body comes very easy. And
Yeah, girl,
with
you've got those
2020,
guns. If anyone sees your which I did post it to promote this episode, even without you joining a competition, you're like I think you just naturally have that muscle mass. Were you born with a six pack? Seems like you've always had it.
I'm like, no. But, I will say thank you, mama. Genetics. I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just one of those things. I'm just like, I think as you get older too, I'm even more determined. And that's why I work out. I'm like, as you get older, your body changes and it is harder. I think study says after 30 years old, it's harder for you to keep muscle mass. So being consistent is key. And I know for me, I see myself competing well in my 40s, well in my 50s, just because it's something that motivates me. And I love having a goal and finishing it. And so to challenge my body in that way it's actually I know it's actually amazing what the body can do. And I love to see when I challenge myself in those different areas. And now the focus, like you were getting back to what we were talking about, is my lower body. I do have a coach. He makes sure that, I think right now we're doing about 4 times a week lower body and the rest upper body and abs. I remember during quarantine, he was just like, you know what? Forget your abs. Let's focus on your glutes and your lower body because that just comes, like it comes natural.
Lucky. Oh my God.
And
I'm
so
the
that's kind
opposite.
of the goal. What would you say?
I'm the opposite. Yeah, it takes me I've never had a six pack, but I think I've had a two pack maybe before, but yeah, I'm the opposite. I've always been like real thick and muscular on my lower body, but not my top. So I'll need some tips from you.
Absolutely.
And diet's a big
Absolutely.
part of that too, right? As far as your abs.
100%. To be quite honest, I always tell, and when I used to train, I used to tell clients, and I tell people today, it is anywhere from 90% your diet. If you really want to work out, you'll work out and it'll come off. But it's what you're putting in your body that truly matters and determines whether or not you're going to gain or you're going to shred the way you need to.
We need to do a separate episode just on this because I feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
I could go on and on with questions. So I don't want to take too much time, but I have so many more questions for you about that.
Come
Maybe
on,
I can have you
Kayla.
back and we'll do another one on
Absolutely.
fitness.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you have going on right now? I mean, you have quite a number of ventures going on. You have, let's see, Vivi Couture Cosmetics or Vivi
Hmm.
Cosmetics. Yeah, Vivi Couture
Yeah.
Cosmetics. And then I saw part of that is Vivi Academy. So can you start by telling us about that and how that came to be?
Well, Vivi Couture Cosmetic actually birthed from going to Haiti after the earthquake in 2010. My ex husband and I were tasked to manage a pre op room in Haiti
Wow.
right after the earthquake. And I remember being there, and of course, for me, it was bittersweet. I don't know if you know this, but my background and my descendant is Haitian.
Hmm.
And so I not only was, working my job, but I became the translator for the team. And so I can hear the agonies, the pain, and the hurt, and have complete understanding of it. I remember just laying down in the room with my eyes open because I can hear all the cries. And of course, hearing mothers cry for their kids that have either died or still stuck under the rubble um, was just heart wrenching. And I knew when I got back to Texas, I had transitioned from the medical industry into the beauty industry. And I wanted to be able to help and give back to that community in any way possible. And the first thing that came to mind, well, actually, it wasn't the first thing because I was just like, okay, what do I do, God? It wasn't the first thing. But as I continued to work there, I remember I had an epiphany. And the only thing I could think of was residual income. And I was just like, okay, maybe I should start that cosmetic line. And that idea came from a client that I had who traveled into town from Canada. I was working with a photographer. I think this was around Austin Fashion Week, and she came in and she, when you're on that grind, you're
Hmm.
not necessarily talking too much. You're like doing the makeup, try to talk less and hurry up because, time is money
Yeah.
as a makeup artist. And I remember her stopping me. She held my hand and she looked at me and I was like, "Oh snap, did I do something wrong?" And she just looked at me. She was like, "You have a gift." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." She was like, "You have a gift. You love to educate. And I've learned so much from you from being in the chair for 15 minutes than I have gotten from my esthetician. And I go to her at least 3 times a month about my
Wow.
skincare and my routine." And then she looked around. She was just like, "You ought to create your own skincare and makeup line." And I thought to myself, "Oh, okay, cool. That's nice. Let me put your eyeshadow on."
Girl, you crazy.
And it's wild to me because when you're in the grind and the hustle and bustle, you don't think about that. Like you said, girl, you're crazy. Not me, right? Because we're just trying to make ends meet and we're doing our work. We're on autopilot. And it wasn't until I was in Haiti and I saw all the suffering that was taking place and my desire to give back. I thought about it and I was just like, I want to do something
Mhm.
to leave an imprint or leave an impact in this community because I know I transitioned from medical to the beauty industry and I won't be able to help in this way as often as I would like to. Especially that I had a 3-year-old daughter at the time. While we were on the mission trip, she was with my mother in Florida. So I know I couldn't just get up and go and do the philanthropy work that my heart desires to, because that wasn't my time and my season in my life. And if I could create this residual income, why not give it back to the community that needed it? And so that's kind of the birth of Vivi Couture Cosmetic. And when I created it, I knew the vision was bigger than me. It wasn't about me having a lucrative income from something, but it was about me giving back to a community that desperately needed it. And to see how we can help them, because honestly, Haiti is a beautiful country. The people are beautiful. And when I say that, it's not necessarily an aesthetic aspect, it's their
Mhm.
souls, it's their hearts. Because despite of the agony, despite of the pain and the suffering that they were going through, they would worship, they would sing, they would gather, they would break bread with one another just so that they know. It was almost like no one was left behind.
Mm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I remember talking with my ex, and I was like, it's almost like I don't want to go back.
Wow.
I don't want to. I don't want to lay in our bed, our huge, oversized bed,
Mm.
knowing that people are laying on mats and people are laying on rocks, and just that mindset of how privileged we truly are, and we take it for granted, or no, better yet, we complain.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I mean, I grew up in the Caribbean lifestyle in terms of little went a lot was a lot for us, but it's just like I'm raising my children, right? And I want to give them perspective and understanding the true meaning of gratitude, and that you don't need a lot to feel happy and to know what happiness is, and to be okay without having the next best thing on the market, right? And have fulfillment in that versus, um, you know, just being okay with knowing that you worked hard for what you have and appreciate it. The little things that matter the most is the most fulfilling things. And it's crazy because I think about all the toys that the kids have. We used to play with rocks, girl. Okay.
I know, me too.
I don't even know the name of the game, but we would like grab some rocks, we'll lay them out, and we'll throw them in the air, and then you grab one, and then you throw another one in the air. And it was just the best time. And to kind of relive that while I was in Haiti was just like, know
That's
where you
pure
come from.
joy. Yeah, that's
Yeah, know
pure
where you
joy.
come from. Yeah.
There's no toy that can replace that.
Mm-mm.
I
No.
know. I remember playing with snails and geckos when we lived in Okinawa. We lived in this place called the greenhouse, and it was like a little shack, a little green shack out in the middle of nowhere. And those were like the best moments of my life, the best memories that I have. It's just so
Yeah,
simple and sense of community.
absolutely.
So that, I mean, that speaks volumes because it, to me, and I'm sure others feel this as well, I do feel a lot of love in your projects and your ventures. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you, to get the backstory behind them because Viva Couture Cosmetics, I mean, if you look at the website, I've worked with you once. We did, um, what was it? We did like a pop-up
Creative
shop
women.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was fun. And, you know, there's just, you can feel it. There's just so much love behind it. And you can always tell when there's a lot of intent and purpose and love behind a project. And so to hear the story, it comes as no surprise because the end result, the product, is definitely a good representation of that. You can tell a lot of thought
I appreciate
was
it.
put into
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, and that goes into your, I saw on your website your mission. Can you tell us about that? It's educate, empower, and community, right?
Yeah, so the foundation, it's one of those things too, I like to say, not only does it go for my business, but it's a part of my personal life as well. I have three tiers that kind of like sets the foundation for who I am and what I want to leave behind as a legacy. And that is to educate, empower, and give back to the community. With any, like you said, venture that I do have, they're in alignment with that, whether it's Vivi Couture Cosmetic, Couture Me Fit, or the VMP Foundation, and now what I'm doing currently in the market. I want to educate people because education is power. And I know it's something that people say all the time, but it is true. The more you know, the more knowledgeable that you are in regards to one, how you can help yourself and how you can help others. When it comes to empowerment, always reach back. Never forget where you came from. And being able to reach back and help someone else, I think that's the greatest gift that you can give yourself. And it's fulfilling. I want to leave a legacy of just continuously empowering, pouring into others, inspiring hope and perseverance. And I hope that when I do that and tell my stories, that women, even men, hopefully I inspire them too. I've gotten that a lot in the last speaking engagements that I've gotten. That's actually been kind of inspiring for men to come up to me and tell me thank you for sharing my story. So yes, I look to inspire both men and women to just don't stop, know your truth, be your own advocate, but also take the time to understand who you are and love you. Because when you start filling your love tank, then it can overflow and seep into every aspect of your life that you truly value and appreciate. And then community. I'm a philanthropist at heart. I think I knew my purpose was in service because that lights me up. If anything, that is my high. Um, I get lost in it the minute knowing that I have a project that's going to be able to help someone else. And I love it that people feel comfortable to even come up to me or even contact me when they're in need. I'll share a story with you. I was working today, not today, actually, yesterday. I got confirmation that everything went well today. But a friend of mine's just texted me and was just like, Viv, do you know anybody at XYZ? Because a family, and I know I can use your help, a son just found his mom dead before Christmas. And we want to do something special for them and to make them, obviously go into the new year on a better note. It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely will serve as a distraction so that they can just regroup. And I was just like, of course. I reached out to my contacts. I reached out to a good friend of mine who loved to serve and has a heart of gold. And sure enough, you know, she was able to make it happen for them to stay at a resort and so that they can just spend time together and connect and fellowship. So I want to be a resource for women and men or anyone who needs help. And if I can do that through just being vulnerable, being approachable, being open, right, um, and they receive that and they feel comfortable coming to me, I want to be that. And so that's how I choose to, impact the community, whether that's through philanthropy work or just being myself and being true to me and letting people know that, hey, I'm here for you. And
Mhm.
when I say that, I mean that. Um, and so that's kind of the foundation of both pretty much everything that I do. So that's me.
That's your personal brand.
Yeah.
Your those are the core values of you and
Yeah.
what Vivian represents. So it's Yeah, it's not that you're a philanthropist or you're into philanthropy. That's who you are
Yeah,
as a person. So it's just a perfect fit. God, that's a great story. How heartbreaking.
it is. It was very tough. I mean, for me to receive that, I was like, wow, okay.
That's tough.
Almost like activate, right? What can I do?
Yeah.
Who can I think of? Who can I touch in terms of like, I know we can make this happen for this family. Let's
Mhm.
close out the year serving, right? And so we did just that. And I got the confirmation today that everything went well. I touched base with her. And yeah, so we're able to help a family go into their new year, just at
Mhm.
least fellowshipping together and kind of reminiscing of the good times and remembering their mother in a beautiful light versus dwelling and just
Right.
hurting. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your foundation.
So the VMP Foundation was created to one, help women who've experienced trauma, PTSD, whether that's sexual assault, or any trauma. But I know we focus greatly on sexual trauma, and that stems from my experience actually when I was in the military. And I know the aid and the tools that I received. And so I actually partnered up with my therapist, and we're going to continue to, assist and continue the work to help other people overcome those traumas through workshops. We're going to have conferences, and we hope to continue to raise money so that we can either house these women if they need to get out of their situation. And the end goal is to pretty much have a safe house, and so that they can have somewhere to actually stay and create jobs and on the job training and et cetera for them as well.
Oh, I love that. That
Yeah.
is great.
Yes.
Wow. Good for you.
Thank
That's
you.
that's like a lifetime, I don't want to say legacy, but a lifetime venture that you're always going to pursue and continue to evolve and something you'll be known for. And that's so honorable. Wow.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest passions. Just because, again, like I said, from my experience, I just wanted to give back. I mean, it was profound working with my therapist. That was years and years of work. But I know if someone listened to me the first time, I would not have been so shunned to, talk about it or try to deal with it, because it was a period that I didn't even address the issues that went on and was trying to do life. But you'll be surprised when you try to suppress something for so long that it will seep into areas, different aspects of your life. And for me, I think the aha moment came, or the moment that I knew I needed to do something, was when I became suicidal. And so when I found my therapist, I was just very happy that the race, me running all the time away from the issue, it stopped when she said, I see you and I won't let you give up on yourself. And for me, that was the turning point of my life. And I put in the work because I know it wasn't just about me, but this beautiful daughter that I have now that I'm raising. And of course, now the legacy of a son as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
now you're living for other beautiful little children.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you feel comfortable sharing that story with us when you were in the military? Just some of the, you don't have to go into too much detail, but maybe some of the situations that you faced.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I was sexually assaulted in the military. And from that cycle, um, it was almost like I was being punished for something that I didn't do. So the NCO thought that I actually told or reported on him. And honestly, I didn't. I actually felt like, I don't know if you've heard the phrase, take it to the grave.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was my intention. And it was at an event that he hosted at his house. And there were other officers and NCOs there. And I knew who reported him, but it was for a completely different reason. But his guilty conscience made him think that it was me. And from there, it was just, I don't know, I guess I would be brutally honest with you and say it was almost like my life was like a living hell after that. Being reported for ridiculous things and having counsel for ridiculous things. And I just knew that at that point that that's not where I wanted to be. And it was just affecting my mental psyche, of course, when you experience something like that and you have to see the person who assaulted you every day and report to them. And so it just became really hard. So it's crazy. I think as I'm talking to you, I think I am Vanessa. And I don't know if you're very
Who's
familiar with the
Vanessa?
Colleen,
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah.
young lady. So,
Mhm.
so when I heard about her, and when we continue to do our advocacy in terms of PTSD and sexual assault and trauma, I think I am Vanessa. That could have easily been me. And so that's why I'm even more passionate about, you know, being advocate and being an advocate for mental health, and definitely standing up to changing some of the rights that are in the military, in regards to superiors taking advantage of, you know, younger
Mhm.
subordinates for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. And what are some of the ways that you address these issues in your workshops?
So what we've been doing is definitely one-on-one counseling. Our goal is to create a team of therapists that will definitely provide the service pro bono, because we don't, obviously at times people don't feel as if they have the funds to be able to go to a therapist. But I'm hoping that changes for the future, because mental health is key. Um, and I don't know why. I guess society sees it as if you go to a therapist that you're labeled as crazy, right? Something's wrong, but it is so healthy. I think I'm a huge advocate for it, not only because of the experience that I've had, but I do understand the importance of talking it out with someone that's unbiased and that can give you tools to figure out the next step, because sometimes we just need to talk it out. We harbor so much. And I think that that in and of itself is so toxic and can cause a lot of the sickness and the chronic pain that we experience. And I say this only because I'm a testament of that, right? Because I had injuries, but my injuries were intensified due to the fact that I was burying so much internally
Hmm.
that, I kid you not, when I started therapy on a regular basis, mentally and physically, helping myself, I don't have chronic pain as like I used to. I still do, of course, because I have military injuries, but it's not as limiting as it was in the past. So I think once you take the time out to, and I like to say there are like three steps, because I actually thought about this for a while. And before I gave a speech on it, I realized that that's how it helped me. So I think, and one of the questions that I'm sure you'll probably ask me, and we kind of touched base on it a little earlier, but how do I get through perseverance, right? I think for me during that period of my life, it was one, acknowledging that something was wrong, because that's where a lot of the issues lie, right? We don't want to face it. We don't want to admit it. But when you acknowledge it, you give yourself permission to move forward. Because when you acknowledge it, you got to stare it in the face and say, what is next?
Yeah.
What do I have to do? And that turns on your awareness monitor, right? You're like, oh snap, something has to change.
Mhm.
I got to do something different. This ain't working. It's
Right.
not serving me,
Right.
right? Because when you acknowledge it, now what you're going to do is take action,
Hmm.
right? So now I'm like, okay, all right, I was suicidal. I need help. I need a therapist. I need to figure out what's going on with me. Why was I okay with taking that step,
Hmm.
taking my life, right? So when you acknowledge it, You look for the resources and the tools that you need to overcome it. And then, this whole, and I call it a phenom because some people lose sight of what self love really is. Yeah, hair done, nails done, that's us. Yeah, that's nice. But I think the true self love is understanding who you are and being at peace with who you are. And I say this naked,
Hmm.
raw, no makeup, no hair done, nails done, just raw.
That's one of the reasons why I cut my hair off, like completely off, every couple of years, because when I start to get to a point where I am focusing too much on the superficial things that don't matter and I need to like reset, or I want to just focus on Alina on the inside, I'll cut all my hair off. And it's like starting from ground zero, I guess. And I still
Yeah,
have my hair really short. I just wear wigs and I'll just wear weave or whatever. But
yeah.
that's why I feel more empowered as a woman and as Alina when my hair is short. And
I mean, look at me.
I know, and you're beautiful. Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's, yeah, so that's one way that I can deal with it, is when I notice, oh, Alina, you need to reel it back in. And I think for the most part, I've grown to the point, and I have a whole lot more to go, but I think I'm at a good place now, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to start the podcast, is because I'm in love with myself and I'm becoming
yeah,
more
that's
confident
good.
in, how I want to give back to the world and what I want to contribute, and not what I want to get from the world, what I want to give
That's
back, just
key.
like you were saying.
Yeah, that's key. And it's one of those things I like to tell people. And I think for us, I say us military personnel,
Hmm.
is not what my country can do for me, but what I can do for my country. It's
Hmm.
kind of the thing that we live by. And you hit it right on the head, right? Not so much what I can get from it, but what I can contribute. And I think when you start to go that deep, you find things about yourself, you discover things about yourself, and that's when you really figure out, huh, I love me,
Hmm.
right? I love all of me, flaws, insecurities, setbacks, denials, frustrations, oh, I love me and it's okay, right? You're doing your best. Every day is progress. One step, one step in front of each other, and you're making progress. And it's just one of those things I tell women that when you learn the true meaning of loving yourself, that's when you have your power.
Hmm.
There's so much power in that because I've seen it for myself and I see it in other women is when we do not love ourselves wholeheartedly, how fragile we are and how, I'm going to say it, how busy we are. Busy without purpose
Yeah.
because we're all over the place. We don't know what we really want. And that's kind of like a testament of, I guess, in a sense, our balance, right?
Hmm.
So take time to get to know yourself. Take time to get to love you. Take time to authentically know
Hmm.
what sets your soul on fire, what's gratifying to you. And again, like you said, what can you contribute? What are you going to leave behind that's going to be a reflection of you even after you leave?
Hmm.
What's your platform? Yeah, and I think you're doing a wonderful job thus far. You're creating this podcast that not only this generation, but generations to come will have the opportunity to listen to them. And what a beautiful example you're being for your daughters. They're going to listen to their mom and know that she was leaving an imprint for women during her time and season. So that's wonderful.
I appreciate that. That's what I live
Absolutely.
for, my girls. And
Mm-hmm.
everything I do, every decision I make is for them, and I'm very mindful of that. So I appreciate that. Very
Yes,
good.
absolutely.
So we're talking about faith and perseverance. Perseverance, that's another word that I have a hard time saying. Um, let's talk about that some more. Can you think of the hardest situation that you've ever faced in your life thus far to this point? And when you faced that, how did you lean on your faith? And can you just kind of walk us through that? What was that like for you? And how was your faith? How did that help you through that difficult situation?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is two. Obviously, the sexual assault, right?
Hmm.
And the suicidal thought process that followed that. But most recently, is divorcing my husband of 15 years, my ex-husband. Um, that I thought, would probably break me. I think anyone who, you've been married to someone and you love someone after 15 years of marriage, you think that that would probably like destroy you. But it didn't.
You're still here,
And
you're
it's
shining.
okay. Like I know for some people might think it's a bad thing, but I think it was a blessing. Um, it was a blessing because it allowed me to find me again. And the journey was like no other. And I can say this wholeheartedly. I guess I didn't hurt so much, or I wasn't in so much pain as I thought I would have been in, because I grieved during the process.
So did you play it out in your mind? I don't know if you were the one to talk to him or what, but
Mhm.
did you play that scenario in your mind like over and over, or did you just know like, no, this is what I need to do?
No, it's not that I played it in my mind. I don't even want to say I planned it and executed it in a sense that, oh yeah, this is when it's going to be, right? Um, I know for sure we've been working on the marriage for quite some time, and I think the last few years it's just got really toxic. And I actually initiated the divorce, which is something that I never thought would happen, right? I
Mhm.
was that ride or die,
Yeah.
Bonnie Claude. We're gonna fight this out. We're
Yeah.
gonna keep working on it. But I think when I realized it, here's the key. Um, and everyone has their different opinion. I'm very much so, and I don't like to label myself as religious or etc. I have a relationship with Christ, and I don't try to impose on anyone's belief in terms of divorce, but I also know that God wants me to be happy, and he wants me to be fulfilled as well. But he also, I don't think anyone should stay in a relationship if respect is out the window, right? If you're not being respected, and yeah, you need to get out. It's not healthy for you. And so the minute I knew that was no longer there,
Hmm.
it was time. Now I had to be mindful because, of course, we had children. When I say I planned, I thought about their reaction. I thought about their emotional state of mind more so than anything, because no, at this point, I'm an adult. I can handle it. They can't. That's trauma to them, right? So I had to be mindful in executing when it comes to their school, everything, right? That period, how are we going to leave, when, and etc. So, yes, I did plan in that regards, but I just knew, and it was helpful that I was in therapy. I've been in therapy for years.
I remember you
So
talking about therapy before it was popular, like
yeah.
before
Oh,
society
girl.
was talking about it.
Oh,
I remember
listen.
you telling me,
Seriously.
"Oh, I talked to my therapist," and like it's nothing. I'm like, okay. This was like back in
Girl,
2014, 15. Like people weren't
man,
talking about it back then, and you didn't care. You're like, oh yeah,
at all. At
I'm
all.
texting
And
my
listen, I
therapist. She's
tell
gonna
my
help me out.
therapist now, I tell her she can't go nowhere. I will stalk her.
Is this the same one that you've had for years?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, she
that's
is not
amazing.
only, she is like my friend, my sister. She's
I love
amazing.
it. That's
Yeah, we've
great.
cultivated a wonderful relationship, and we now, getting ready to form a business partnership so that we can continue to help and aid other women. And so I absolutely love it. Again, I'm a huge advocate for it. It's healthy because I don't think that I would have been able to transition through that period of my life
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
without having that tool in my toolbox in order how to process my emotion, understand the decision process that I am getting ready to make, and to stay centered, right? Because going through something like that can make you crazy. I
Absolutely.
don't care how strong you think you are, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's just emotional. And for me, it helped me to remain balanced. And I think outside of the therapy, obviously my relationship with Christ, that's my anchor. That was my number one strength in that entire process. I never lost faith or hope because I knew what the word said, right? I knew that, for me, I live by Jeremiah 29:11. I knew that, he wanted me to prosper. He wanted me to be happy. And that's the life that he has set forth for me while in the marriage and outside of the marriage. I will be okay because that is a part of his covenant over my life. And no man can take that away.
Yeah.
And so I walked in perseverance and with my head high, knowing that I serve a God that does not lie and does not waver. And so that was my anchor. Anytime I felt weak, anytime I felt like, my kids were either emotional about the process or, and I would even say it like, felt like they were in the crossfire of the process.
Yeah.
I had to get back to my foundation. I had to pray. I had to, for me, sometimes it was just having the worship music on because there's a point when you can't pray. And when I couldn't pray, I had a tribe that prayed for me. I had a praying warrior of a mother that even told me, I know you can't pray today. I know you can't pray today, but I'm going to pray for you. And so those were my anchor in helping me get through that season. And of course, fitness. I felt like I was in the gym. You talk about every day. I think I was in there for at least 2 hours.
Wow.
2 hours, just
When did you do
mentally
that? Was that
exert.
a bikini competition or what kind of what
Yeah.
was
And
that?
it's crazy because that's one of my most recent ones in terms of the latest show that I did. And that was during the divorce process, the one that I think you have on there.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the best physique.
Got to stay focused
that
and concentrated on something else.
Oh yeah.
And you
Honed
were,
all the energy. Yeah, I honed all the energy because you can
yeah,
you during something like that, and not just a divorce, but any
right.
traumatic experience in your life, you have a choice.
Mhm.
You can exert negative energy or positive. You determine where you allow that energy to go. And for me, I was just like, I know fitness is healthy for me in terms of it's like therapy for me. Lifting iron, heavy iron is therapy for me. And so I was just like, I'm going to be in the best physique of my life in this process. God help me to stay focused, help me to be able to lift heavier every time. Like if I got frustrated, I kid you not, I lift heavier. And it was
How
something
much can
about the
you lift?
I don't know now. Look, I'm like, I don't
How much can you bench
know. But
press?
bench press, I don't know. It's crazy because my coach will probably chime in any day and say, she looks strong, but she ain't that strong.
How much can
I
you
don't need a
squat?
lot of weight. Yeah, I don't need a lot of weights to define. Again, like I was telling you, my upper body. So I'm always kind of scared too to lift heavy, but he pushes me to a whole
Uh-huh.
different level, and I value him for that. Um,
Yeah,
that's why we have people in our lives, right, that see our potential.
that's
They
right.
kind of push us,
That's right.
right, to the
Yep.
next level. So we're very grateful for them. I don't know, probably maybe, I don't know, 120, probably my max right now, comfortably. I don't know.
Wow.
But um,
I need
but
those
yeah,
numbers.
it was I exerted my energy into something positive, and that was me being in the best physique of myself. And that kind of definitely helped me
Hmm.
to not go astray and
Yeah.
be negative. Um, and I remember until this very day, um, I hear it all the time. There's like, you don't ever say anything negative about him. And I was just like, why? Why?
Yeah.
That would be a disservice. Because I always say, if you love someone, you'll always love someone.
That's
I
true.
don't care what you say.
It's true.
You, I don't care what you say.
Oh, yeah.
So I acknowledge that he's the father of my children, and I was in love with him at some point in my life. He was my husband, and we were together for what, 15 years.
That's not
So
just gonna go away.
it's not,
Life.
but I don't let it affect me in
Mm.
the way that I move today. Thank you for the experience, but farewell.
Yeah.
Farewell to it. It was a beautiful journey. And I always say that I hope that he's happy, because I cannot hide the fact that I'm elated, and God is good to me every day. I'm just so happy because, again, that experience have allowed me to truly fall in love with myself, and I can't hide it.
You
I
shouldn't.
really
Yeah.
can't hide
You shouldn't.
it.
You.
I can't. And I remember probably the second session after the divorce, and I'm being completely transparent and
No,
vulnerable.
please. Yeah. Go for it.
After the divorce, and I went to my therapy session, and I was just like, I don't know if I felt guilty, I felt strange, I don't know what it was, but she was like, "What's wrong?" And I kind of looked around like somebody was like looking at me, or I was doing something wrong. But I'm like, am I supposed to feel this good? And she just bust out laughing. And she just sat there and just soaked it in.
Wow.
And I did too, because I felt really, really, really good.
Wow. You made the
Um,
right decision for you.
I
You
did.
did.
And I was at peace with it. And I think the reason why I was at peace with it, because I felt like God told me that it was okay.
Mm.
And that's all I needed to know, right?
Yeah.
Like I gave my all into it. And I knew that I was done when my prayer changed.
Hmm.
My prayer changed from, why me, God? Why is this happening to me? To the point when I started praying for the woman that he was going to be with.
Wow. Really?
Yes. And I remember saying,
Oh
you
my.
know, God, if it's not me, then whoever she is, I pray that she fulfills him. I pray that she makes him happy. I pray that, whatever he needs from her, that she is truly what makes him stop running.
That's love too.
Yeah. And I remember, I'll never forget it. We were in the bedroom. Something went down. We had an altercation. And I looked at him. It was what he did. It was almost like he came at me. And I was like, oh no, I know the crazy person in me. And, take me out the hood, but I'm still crazy.
Like we don't want to mess with you.
I just looked, I was just like, oh no, I'm gonna give you what you've been asking for, in terms of a divorce. I wasn't going to go too crazy. And so I looked at him and I was just like, you know what? I love you enough to let you go because I want you happy, whether that's with me or without me. And I told him the exact thing that I told you. I said, I used to pray, why me, God? But now I started praying for the woman that you're going to be with. And so I hope you're happy
What's his
because I
reaction?
think I was just like, it wasn't one that I expected. I mean, of course, no one wants to hear that, right? And I remember, he was flat out. He was like, "You don't mean that shit." Excuse me
Yeah.
for being just blunt, but yeah, for those who don't like to hear the curse, but that's what it was. And I said, "I do." I actually really felt it that day, and I just knew that one, I felt like I didn't know who he was
Mm-hmm.
with the way he tried to come at me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wasn't okay with it because in a sense I almost had like a flashback, right? I
Yeah.
either saw my mom or I saw the person who assaulted me. And I was just like, for the first time, I felt fear in a way that I wasn't comfortable with. And I was just like, okay, it's time, you know. Um, I don't know. What's coming to my head right now is Get Out. I don't know if you watched the movie Get Out, but
Yes.
it was just like,
Yes.
yeah, it's time to get out
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's no longer serving you. And again, when you start to see respect kind of gets out of there,
Yeah.
it's time to go. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it was a blessing and a curse. It's not so much of a curse, but it was just a blessing to see how God moves in the midst of trials, right? We think we can't overcome something, but here He is carrying us through the process and letting us know along the way that it's going to be okay. God carried me so many times because I would see steps. Because I know it wasn't me. I didn't have the strength at times because not only was I balancing my emotions, but I was balancing the emotion of my children. And so in carrying that, and I felt weak, but I was strong. And I didn't rely on my strength at all. And I completely dwelled on God's strength and continue to ask Him daily for His strength and guidance. And so that's one of the biggest ways for me to just get through things. And um, that season of my life, that's what carried me.
Thank you for the transparency. I know
Yeah.
that's not easy, to share your personal life, but when it could potentially touch other people, I know it touched me. I know you didn't go into detail, but you shared you had what is it called? You had a love letter that you wrote to yourself. What was it? A
Yeah.
farewell letter that
Yeah. It was a farewell letter.
yeah that you published on Facebook, and you were very open with it. And I was just I was just scrolling through Facebook, and I had just moved to Dallas. Yeah, I had just moved to Dallas, and I was just scrolling through, and I came across that post, and I was living by myself, and I was in a lonely place, and I was just kind of, I was sitting with mixed emotions about how I wanted to move forward, with our family, with my life, with this new move. And when I saw that, it brought a lot of hope to me, and a lot of inspiration and courage. I think above all else, brought a lot of courage to me because I read that and thought, okay, if she's going through all of this and you're breaking your own heart, you're strong enough to do what's right for you and for your kids. Um, by breaking your own heart, you knew it was going to be heartbreaking and really tough, but it was necessary.
Hmm.
That is true strength. And after that, I said, okay, I need to figure this out. I know in my
Hmm.
heart what I want to do, but and that gave me the courage to, I think, make the right decision moving forward in, my personal life. But I'm just we need more people like you. Like you said earlier, the only way to live is with authenticity and living in your true self. And you are the epitome of that. I mean, you do it, you don't make excuses, you do what needs to be done, you live in your truth, girl, and you are like the dictionary picture of that. And
Well,
I
thank
just want to
you.
thank you for being you. Like, keep doing it, keep posting that, keep speaking the word and being your beautiful self. And it's not just how gorgeous you are, it's your soul. You have such a beautiful soul. And, I was attracted to you right away. I was like, I want to know her. And, we were doing makeup and, usually makeup artists are just like, oh, hey, what kit do you have or what? But I was
Yeah.
just like really interested in you and, oh, where's she from and whatnot. So I encourage you to keep going and you're going to do some amazing things in this world, Viv. I'm so proud of you. And your
Thank you
kids
so
are
much.
going to look up to you also. I know they already do. Um,
Thank you.
so to jump us off or to end our interview really, what can you think of as far as what you would tell your kids? So what is one thing that you would like for your kids to know um, after you leave this earth? What do you want to leave them with? What is something you want to stick with them about you?
And it's crazy because I kind of tell them every day, right? Anytime I see them feel challenged or not, or feel discouraged, my kids are very open with me. We talk about literally everything. So if they come home to me and tell me something that happened in school or someone said this or that about them, and the key thing that I always say to them is know your truth. And they just all and it's like instantly they always stop. It's like, oh, know your truth.
That's good.
Their opinion of you is none of your business.
Right.
Know your truth. Who are you? Because when you know who you are, what you stand for, what you believe, no one can shake you. And I can't remember if it's something that I read or if it was a podcast that I listened to, but it said, people don't knock people down that are below them. They knock people down that are at their level or above them. So that's a fear or insecurity that they have that you have no business trying to control. That's not your problem.
Yeah.
Know your truth. And I always say that to my girlfriends, to my friends, be authentic with yourself. Know your truth. Because when you do that, you cannot be
Mhm.
shaken.
Exactly. I don't know where I heard that either. I heard that a couple years back, and a light bulb went off. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Yeah.
That's right." I
They're
started thinking back on past experiences. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's so true." I don't know who said that either. I need to look it up, but I
Yeah,
love
and
that.
I felt like I heard it more recently, and I was just like, you know what? Okay, thank you.
Mm,
You almost like deposit that in the bank.
that's
That's one of those.
right. I needed
You're
that
like,
little deposit.
mhm, absolutely. So
Yeah.
just know your truth and just be authentic to yourself, and you know, live audaciously. Pursue the things that set your soul on fire. You only live once. Be happy. Not above surface, not for the gram, not for Facebook. Be authentically happy.
Mhm.
And know what that means. What does that look like to you? And it's crazy because I remember having a conversation with my daughter. She's just like, well, I'm going to have to go to this school or this school. I was like, what do you want to do? I mean, honestly, school's not for everyone, right? But what is it that you really want to do? Now, if whatever it is that you want to do requires you to go to school in terms of college, right? But it's just one of those things. I tell her, I'm like, I want you to be happy. I want you to wake up in the morning and want to do that thing, not dread to do that thing, whatever it is. Because that's when you give yourself permission to live an authentic life and to be yourself, and
Mhm.
you'll know your truth. It always come back to knowing your truth.
Yep. And that starts at home too. I remember
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember thinking, oh, I'm not good enough because, I didn't go to college right out of high school. I got pregnant and I had a kid. I started late in life, and I always thought I wasn't good enough and had, abandonment issues with my dad. And so that always stuck with me that I had to work extra hard to prove I was worthy of having good things and that I was of value. And so I tell my daughter that too. We've been getting, envelopes because she's in high school now and she's getting, invitations from college or, their marketing stuff that they send
Yeah,
out. And I told her,
absolutely.
I said, if you want to go to a community college and get your, general courses out of the way, it's a lot cheaper until you figure out what you want to do. And then you can go to a university. But you don't have to go to college. I don't pressure her to do that. You do whatever you love doing. If that's cosmetology school or whatever it is, do that. And I try not to put that pressure on her and make sure that she knows that I support her with, whatever she wants to do because that's going to give her the confidence to know that, oh, whatever my mom wants me to do, she's going to be okay with and she can live in her true self. So,
Mhm. I couldn't agree more.
well, thank you so much for chatting with me, Viv. Really
Absolutely.
enjoyed our time together. Where can people connect with you on the social webs?
Well, on IG, I am Vivianne.Pearson. It's Vivianne dot Pearson, Pearson. And same thing on Facebook, Vivianne Pearson. And so you can have it there and you can follow me. Once you get on that page, my personal branding page, I have all the, you know, hashtag or the socials for all the other businesses and etc. So you can kind of click on those, but definitely you can find me there.
Great. And I'll also include them in the comments section of our YouTube page as well.
Okay.
All
Awesome.
right.
Thank you for having me.
Love